Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Phoebe and today I'm going to be ranking OG Booktok books. I thought it'd be nice to start with this because it kind of gives you my opinions on a lot of books in one go, so you can gauge kind of what my tastes are, if our tastes align, etc, etc. So I am doing this on my iPad so I can screen record. I didn't make this tier list, I just found it on the tier maker website. I will leave a link to it down below if you want to use it. The tiers that we've got, the top tier, would sell my soul to experience this again for the first time. This is like 6-star reads, like books that are my favourites, even though I probably read them a couple of years ago because they were popular a couple of years ago. These are books that have stuck with me ever since then and that I'm still obsessed with now. The next one is exclamation marks. This is books that I really loved, really enjoyed, but just didn't quite give me that 5-star feeling. Enjoyable but forgettable. These are books that were fine in the moment, but I've not really thought about them since. Did I like it? Would I recommend it? Sure. Books that I might not be sure on, but there's nothing kind of glaringly wrong with them, I'd still probably recommend them, but it wouldn't be the first book I would direct someone to read. Don't make me talk about it. Self-explanatory. And then the last two are for books that I haven't read. My Dark Vanessa, that's an easy one, that's on my TBR. I do own a physical copy, I don't think you can see it, it's just at the end of this shelf. I own a physical copy but I haven't read it yet. So that is on my TBR. Verite, I will not read it and you can't make me. I do own a physical copy somewhere, I've unhauled it, I've just not actually got it out of my house yet. I won't be reading it. I was never really in a Colleen Hoover phase anyway, to be honest. I've never particularly enjoyed a Colleen Hoover book very much, but I'm just kind of over it now. Verity doesn't sound that interesting to me. I picked it up, bought it because it was hyped, but I'm just never going to read it. It just doesn't sound interesting to me. It sounds a bit too kind of creepy and weird for my taste. The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I love the Off-Campus series. It's just there. It's one of my favourite series ever. The only reason it's not in the top tier is because it is kind of, in my head it's like a 5-star series, but I didn't actually rate them all 5 stars, and The Deal isn't my favourite one out of the series. I still gave it like a 4 or a 4.5. I love this book, but it's not quite up there with the 6 stars, but I really love the Off-Campus series. Ugly Love, don't make me talk about it. One of the worst books I've ever read in my life. As soon as I read it, I had to hide it in my room so that I couldn't see it because I hated it that much. But I would rather scoop my eyes out with a rusty teaspoon than go near that book ever again. Hated it. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Where do I put it? Yeah, I will put it there. Did I like it? Would I recommend it? Sure. It was quite an enjoyable read. Completely ridiculous. The premise is insane. Alex's whole character is so beyond unrealistic. It's kind of a joke. And there's a weird kind of murder mystery that crops up in this book. It's definitely a bit of a weird one. But it was fine. It was enjoyable enough. If you're interested in the Twisted series, particularly the later books that I think are a bit better, I would read it. It's quite a quick read. It's definitely not the best in the series, nor is it anywhere near the best romance book I've read, but it was fine. Particularly it was fine until they picked up the microphone, but I don't want to talk about that. November 9, don't make me talk about it. DNF'd it, but Ben is the worst kind of man. The worst kind of man. What do you mean you force him to wear a dress that she doesn't want to wear? Like, that's just one tiny example of the weird shit that he did in that book before I DNF'd it. Weird, weird man. Not for me. From Lukov with Love, I would sell my soul, my house, my firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, anything to experience that again for the first time. That is potentially, it's just there behind me, and I have a special edition of it on the way. Apologies if the angle or anything has changed. My SD card got full and I just had to go and delete and export, import, I don't know, move the clips. So back to what I was saying. I can't remember where I got to with From Lukov with Love, but it is my child. I am obsessed with that book. Love it so much. Moving on. Next one is Hook, Line and Sinker. I much preferred the first instalment in this series. It Happened One Summer, is that what it's called? It's been a long time since I read it. Hook, Line and Sinker. It was fine. I didn't love the characters in this one, particularly the male main character. I much preferred the characters and the relationship in the first one. This one was fine. It wasn't like anything massively kind of hateable, if that makes sense. It just wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it as much. Beach Read, controversially, I didn't hate this book. I really didn't. I really enjoyed it most of the way through. I can't really say what I didn't like because it's a bit of a spoiler, but I'll kind of head round it without giving a spoiler. The kind of third act conflict I didn't like. I didn't like where the male main character's head was at. I didn't like that kind of internal debate that he had to have about the thing. You'll know if you read it. I just didn't like that. I loved the vibe of the rest of the book though. I did really like the characters as a whole, but yeah, I didn't love the third act. Spanish Love Deception. Is this a good quality masterpiece? No. But is it really quite great? Yes. I love the Spanish Love Deception. It was just one of those like silly little books that had me like kicking my feet and squealing. Great. Culty is still on my TBR somehow, even though I really like Mariana Zapata's books. Somehow I haven't read Culty yet. I do have a physical copy of it. I just haven't got around to it. I'm definitely going to read it next year though. The Inheritance Games. Again, I own it but I haven't read it. Better Than the Movies. Love that book. So sweet. So many sweet movie references. And you don't have to be a big film person to read it. I don't watch many films, so a lot of the references probably went over my head, but it didn't impact my enjoyment or my understanding of the book. It was so sweet. Really enjoyed it. They Both Die at the End. Meh. It was fine. I didn't personally enjoy it. I think I gave it about 2 stars, but I know a lot of people do. So I'm not going to say don't read it, but it just wasn't for me. After, I will not be reading it and you cannot make me. The Midnight Library, very similar to They Both Die at the End. I think I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't for me. Daisy Jones and the Six. What a masterpiece. I've still not watched the show somehow. I started watching the first episode and then turned it off to go do something and I haven't watched it. But the book, incredible. If you don't know, it's written in an interview style. I read it as a physical copy, but apparently the audiobook is amazing because it's got a full cast. So I imagine it sounds like you are just listening to a band interview. And me, along with many other people, actually went away after reading this and like started Googling thinking, this band sounds real. They're not, but it's just written in such a way that it feels so real. And it's just stunning. Love it. People We Meet on Vacation. It was enjoyable but quite forgettable. I don't really think about that book often, but I did enjoy it enough when I read it. Malibu Rising. Amazing. Love that book so much. Just the vibe. I love that little world that Taylor Jenkins Reid has created, like the Malibu Rising, Daisy Jones, that kind of, it's not a universe because it's in our world, but it's set, is it the 80s, 70s, 80s, around that time period that it's set in, and I just love it. I love those, they're not a series, but I love that kind of set of books so much. We Were Liars. I don't know how to put this. It was fine, but I don't know that I really would recommend it. It sits somewhere between don't make me talk about it because it's not, I'm going to put it there, it's not on the same level as the Colleen Hoover books. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 3 stars. It was a fine book, but I can definitely see why people don't. It was a bit ridiculous, but on the whole it was fine. I wouldn't kind of recommend it now. I think there's a lot better books out there to be reading, but it was fine when I read it. Funny You Should Ask is on my TBR. I've been wanting to read it for a while but I haven't got to it yet. Every Last Word, I've not really heard anything about that, so I'm just going to kind of ignore that and leave it where it is. Shatter Me, one of my favourite series again of all time. Slightly above the Off Campus, but I feel like I should... Right, I'm going to move the deal because we're going to use the deal to represent the whole Off Campus series because they're not in here separately. The Shatter Me tops Off Campus a little bit, but on the whole, they're kind of on par. I love the Shatter Me series. I love Aaron Warner. I don't care if he's 5'9". I don't care. It's such a good series. If you don't know, it's a dystopian, so like a dystopian fantasy type vibe. It's not kind of kingdom whimsical fantasy. It's a very kind of gritty dystopian fantasy, and it's just amazing. If you also read the first book and think, this is a bit odd, I don't quite like being in Juliet's head, just keep going. The first book isn't bad. It's not one of those series where it's like you have to read 5 books to get to a good one. It's not like that. But if the first one just feels a bit weird, just keep going. It all adds up and it all makes sense. 1,000 Boy Kisses. I don't think I'm going to read it. It was on my TBR for a long time and I think it is still on my Goodreads TBR, but I'm just not in the market for a sad book right now. I'm just not in the mood to be reading sad books. Maybe I will read it one day, but right now I don't particularly plan to be reading this book. Bunny is on my TBR. Circe, enjoyable but forgettable. It was fine. Beautiful writing, and I think if you are into Greek mythology you will love it. You don't particularly have to understand loads about Greek mythology to read Circe and the Song of Achilles, which comes next, so I might as well get that out as well. You don't have to understand loads about Greek mythology to read them, but I think you would probably appreciate the nuances of it more if you did, and I don't. So it was fine as kind of a face value story, but neither of them have really stuck with me that much. Oh, It Happened One Summer is here. I'll put It Happened One Summer... Oh, I've done it again. I'm going to put It Happened One Summer enjoyable but forgettable. I think I gave it like 4 stars. I really did enjoy it when I read it, but it's not on the same level as the exclamation mark books. It's not a book that's particularly stuck with me or that I think about very often. The Cruel Prince, I love this series so much. I'm going to put it up in the top. Don't read this if you're looking for a fantasy romance series. It does have a great romance in it, but it's such a small subplot. I love the couple and I love their interactions all the way through, but if you're only reading it for a romance, don't. I love this series because of the world and because of the politics. I do love a political fantasy, or even like things like Red, White and Royal Blue, like a political contemporary but not real politics. Because I don't read like non-fiction politics is what I'm getting at, but I love politics in fiction. I find it really fascinating to read about, and that's one of the main things I love about The Cruel Prince, alongside the romance. If We Were Villains, I haven't read. I'll put it on TBR because it has kind of been on my radar, but it's not a priority. Punk 57, unironically, when it actually lets me pick up the cover, unironically she's going to the top. I'm sorry. I do apologise. I know that a lot of people really don't like Book 57, but I love that book. There's just something about it, just something about the vibe of that book that gets me every time. I reread it, I don't think it was this year, I think I reread it last year, and it still stands up. I thought I was going to read it and be like, no, but I read it and it still stands up, and I still love that book, so she's going at the top. A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first book in the series I really enjoyed, but they get even better as you go on. I think I would put the rest of the series in the top, but I'm just going to pop the first one in the exclamation marks. Neon Gods, not really on my radar, so I'm just going to ignore it. All Your Perfects, won't read it, You Can't Make Me. Six of Crows, sorry, I really did like it when I read it. The duology was fun. I just don't think they're particularly my taste. I can absolutely see why people love... Sorry if you can hear banging, I think my rabbits are stomping in the next room. I can see why people love the Six of Crows duology. I really do. It just, for some reason, didn't stick with me. I found by the time I got to Crooked Kingdom, I just didn't care about the characters as much as I think I should have. But it is enjoyable, and I would absolutely recommend it. It's just not one that's stuck with me. I did give it 4 stars though. Red, White and Royal Blue. Again, absolute chef's kiss, amazing. I don't think you can see because it's up there. I have multiple copies of this book. I'm obsessed with it. It's amazing. Love the couple, love the politics. The banter in this book is amazing. It's just so funny and so witty. Love it. Everyone needs to read Red, White and Royal Blue. A Little Life. You could not pay me any money in the world to read this book. It used to be on my TBR and it might still say I want to read it on Goodreads, but everyone says don't read this book if you're not in the right mental space, and I've kind of accepted that. I'm not sure I'll ever be in the mental space to be reading a book that's that sad, so no. You've Reached Sam, I think, is that a sad book? If it is, it's staying in. I'm not picking it up, and You Can't Make Me, because I'm just not in the market right now to be reading a sad book. If it's not a sad book, then I might end up picking it up at some point, but it's not one that's particularly on my radar. A Touch of Darkness and Dance of Thieves. Particularly Dance of Thieves is quite high up on my TBR. I don't own it, hence why I've not got to it yet. I'm prioritising the books that I own, but definitely a book that I'm interested in. I've heard it's a great fantasy romance. Every Summer After, it was fine. I didn't like the twist at the end. I didn't like the third act kind of conflict thing. Great vibe. If you already own it, I would say give it a read. It's very quick, but I wouldn't go out of your way to kind of acquire a copy of this. There's definitely better summer romances out there that you could read. The Silent Patient, I'm not really on my radar. I've heard a lot about it and I've heard it's really good, but it's not really on my TBR, so I'm just going to leave it there. Because the ones that I'm leaving at the bottom, by the way, I just don't feel strongly about either reading them or not. They're not books that I'm saying I'll never read, but they're not on my TBR, they're not on my radar, so I'm going to leave them there. Normal People, I don't know where to put this because it's not on the same level as these books in the exclamation tier, but it wasn't forgettable. I'm going to put it there. It's definitely, I don't love it as much as I love like Malibu Rising. I think I'm probably going to end up moving some from the exclamation mark category up at the end. But I did enjoy Normal People. I didn't know that I would. It's very different to the things I usually read, but I did really enjoy it. Sorry about the change in quality. Hopefully it won't make too much difference because I'm currently just a little thing in the corner anyway. My SD card got full again and I don't have it in me to sit here for another half an hour emptying it, so I've just switched onto my phone. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Again, I don't know where to put. I'm going to put it in the exclamation mark one, but near the bottom of the exclamation mark one. I enjoyed it when I read it. I quite enjoy the whole series. The heroes are just a little bit too grumpy for me, and I love Grumpy Sunshine. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Love that book. Again, if you're looking for just a romance, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you are wanting something that definitely has a very sweet romance in it, I love the couple. But you also like something that's got another kind of storyline, you don't only want to focus on the romance, I would recommend Emily Henry's books, particularly Book Lovers. Amazing setting, lovely characters. Just the best way I can describe the book is it just felt very genuine. I don't know how else to describe what I mean, but it just felt really kind of wholesome and a very genuine book. Conversations with Friends. This one wasn't for me. I didn't love that one. It's not as low as the Colleen Hoover books I put in front of them, but I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as I enjoyed Normal People. Love and Other Words, I'll put there. I'm in the minority and I understand. I loved this book for most of the way through. I really did. I thought the vibe of the book was amazing. I loved that they were readers and it was so book focused, but I hated the twist. I don't think it was dealt with well. I think, I can't say it without it being a spoiler, but if you've read it, you might know what I mean. And I have seen other reviewers saying similar things that I did not enjoy that twist. No, not for me. I don't think it was dealt with well. The Unhoneymooners, unironically really love this book. Christina Lauren's a weird one for me. I don't enjoy all of their books, but The Unhoneymooners just hit right. It was really fun, really quick, really easy to read. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I really enjoyed and I didn't think I would. It's so not what I usually read. It's a very slow-paced book. It's very kind of atmospheric. It's not particularly plot-driven. It's just following Addie through her life, which I thought I would find very boring, but I didn't, and I really, really enjoyed it. It Ends With Us, just don't make me talk about it. It Ends With Us was not as bad as Ugly Love and November 9, like at all. It was okay. I finished it without too much kind of fanfare, but yeah, it's not, there is actually a copy of it there that I need to do an unhaul. But yeah, no. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, why did I say that really weird? The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, why can't I say whatever, you know what I mean? I love this book, so fun. Mariana's apart as heroes do also kind of hit that line for me of, are you grumpy or are you a bit of a prick? And Aiden is absolutely just a bit of a prick. But for some reason it didn't bother me as much as it did in the fine print. I would, if I was going to properly put these in order, it would be above the fine print. Maybe just because the book is so long that he gets kind of a really good redemption arc and he really opens up. So does Rowan, to be fair, in the fine print, but there's just something about Mariana's apart as slow burns that just get me every time. Reminders of Him, won't be reading it. You Can't Make Me, where does that go? There. Sweetest Oblivion, won't be reading it. I swear, isn't the author like a whack-off Trump supporter? Miss me with that, I'm good, I'm not reading it. The Love Hypothesis, such a sweet book. Love it so much, obsessed. I love Ali Hazelwood's books, they're so funny, and I always forget between reading them how funny they actually are, but they are hilarious. To Love Jason Thorne, meh, it was fine. It was a fine read. There's definitely better romances out there, but again, I'd say if it's one that you already own, give it a go, but I wouldn't go out of your way to read it. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Again, this is hard because I wouldn't say it was forgettable like Six of Crows. I haven't forgot it. But I've not carried on with the series. I didn't hate it. I think I gave it like 4 stars. I really quite enjoyed it. I think if you're starting to get into thrillers, it's a great one. It's really, really good. It's multimodal, so it has like podcast snippets in. I listened to it on audio, which was nice. And it has like, I don't know if it is diary entries, but it has like different written formats. It is a really cool book. But I don't know. I think it's because I'm not going to spoil. It's not a big spoiler anyway, but the thing dies that like I don't want to die in any book ever, and that just kind of put me off. But still a very good book. The Hating Game by Sally Rooney is going up there unironically. This was one of the first romances I read, I think probably the first workplace romance I read. Is it cringe? Yes. Is it ridiculous? Yes. Can I understand why people don't like it? Absolutely. But as someone who read this when I hadn't read much romance, I just really enjoyed it. It was just fun, and I also liked the film. Heartstopper, obsessed. If I just tilt this up a little bit, you can see that is my Heartstopper shelf. I think I have, do I have 6 copies now of volume 1 or something stupid? 5 or 6. I'm obsessed with Heartstopper. Favourite series, favourite TV series. Obsessed. I think everyone, regardless of age, needs to read or watch Heartstopper. Where the Crawdads Sing, I'm going to put it there because isn't the author like wanted for murder? I enjoyed it enough when I read it. I didn't love the ending. I thought it was a bit far-fetched. I think I gave it 3 stars, but yeah, I think there's been a lot of controversy since that book kind of became popular. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, really enjoyed this book. Not quite up there with the other Taylor Jenkins reads, but I think I gave it like 4.5 or something. Really enjoyed it. Really loved Evelyn Hugo. Again, a lot of it was kind of an interview, chatty, not in the same way as Daisy Jones and the Six, but a lot of the knowledge you get in the book comes from an interview. So, I don't know, it just made it feel nice to read, I suppose. I don't know how to explain it. And then the Atlas 6 is on my TBR, but I haven't read it yet. That brings us to the end of our tier ranking. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, I plan to tier rank. It depends how painful this video is to edit, to be honest. I'm anticipating pain and perhaps some tears trying to edit this. But if it goes all right, I will tier rank all of the books I read in 2023. I think I'm currently on about 80 books, and I'll probably finish a couple more before the end of the year, but I'll be tier ranking around 80 books. A lot of them are newer Booktok books or Booktube books. Not all of them are, but there will be a lot of popular books in that video. Even if I don't end up tier ranking using this website and a screen recording, I'm still going to do a video kind of ranking all the books I read in 2023. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please give it a like and subscribe down below. Comment if there are any specific book videos that you enjoy watching and you would want to see me film. I'm very open to ideas at the minute. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!